Hello, welcome to True Hoop with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Some exciting playoff games. We got some series that are really sort of like, ooh, who knows who's going to win right now? We're all tied up. Lots happening. David, let's start with the late game from last night. The defending champs fought back. Down 0-2, got embarrassed in game 2 at home, and then came back, laid the wood on Minnesota in game 3. Following game 3, Ant Edwards came out and said, I take responsibility for that. I didn't come out with the right energy in game 3. He came out with all the energy in game 4. Had another 40-plus point game. He joins the list with Luka Doncic and LeBron James and Kevin Durant as a few people who've had 40-point playoff games before their 22-year-old birthday, which is quite incredible.
He's, you mean 423?
At 22 years of age to have as many 40-point playoff games as he has. Just incredible player. But Dallas won that game last night, and the series is not tied at 2.
Denver won, right?
Denver, excuse me.
Yeah,
and I said
Dallas won also.
Well, yeah,
Dallas won also.
We'll get to them in a minute.
Yeah.
I said to you, David, in our chat, I was like, "Is Minnesota just too stupid to win?" And I didn't mean like in a mean way. You knew exactly what I meant. Like, are they just not mature enough to understand the importance and value of the basketball and wasting possessions? And I highlighted a couple examples of that, particularly at the end of the first half, where I'm like, guys, you just threw the ball away and you didn't value the possessions enough. And a 7-point lead went to 15 and really was never close after that.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. So my answer to you was all these teams with kinds of mistakes.
Correct.
Denver took advantage of them. The Murray prayer 3, I thought might go in. Pretty he's amazing. They're playing a very smart team that sometimes champions have to go through these roadblocks and to kind of find another level. And they don't really push so much in series 1 round.
Right.
They certainly have been pushed in this series. They've emerged, more spectacular because of it. And I think they now have a large likelihood to win the series.
Yeah.
Minnesota, I think they might have won the turnover battle by 1. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think so. It was very close.
1 more, 1 less. Denver just took advantage of things, and they have, first of all, regarding Edwards, love how he handled game 3. Do not love that he's talking now. Murray beef, I don't really know.
Oh, it's just, Ant's a talker, and that's just what he does. And so I think at the end of game 4, I think he said to Murray, keep talking. We love it. Keep talking.
Right.
Right.
I would, if I knew him and worked with him, I would say, you don't have to tell him to keep talking. He's probably going to anyway. Let's just focus on us. You're not going to influence him at all. This is the nature of the game. Normally it's private. Like, as an example I'll give you is, I won't go into details, but there was a very physical player who was just knocking heads all over the place. And the guy he kept banging, one of the many, decided, you know what, I'm going to start giving it back to you a little bit. After the whistle, before the whistle. Do you remember, I'll finish the story, but I want you to get a clear picture. Do you remember in quarterback when, no, I'm sorry. It's the Have you watched the HBO Max one on the Dolphins?
No, I haven't seen that one.
But I've referenced this to you before, though, where they're about to play a team that has a defensive lineman that just always is hitting the quarterback. And so the coach for the Dolphins was warning Tua, get ready. He's going to bump you all the time. He's trying to get under your skin, the pebble in your shoe, right? And so they had a guy on the scout team or the second team, whatever, the Dolphins, play that role. And every time he would pop Tua, hit him, Tua would be, thank you. It was so sweet. Thank you. Good job. Like, he knew what he was doing. Well, that exists in the playoffs all the time. The cameras don't often catch it. And certainly the announcers aren't catching it. There's a whole lot they're not catching. We'll save that for another time. But so I was talking to an agent this morning about how this one very physical guy is doing it, is constantly giving it. And the agent's client, who's a better player than the other guy, had enough. And he started hitting him back a lot. And so the initial instigator was like, is that what's going to be? And then he was like, yeah, motherfucker, that's what you've been doing. I'm sick of it. I'm doing it right back to you. And the guy had a terrible game. I don't think that was the reason, by the way.
Right.
This is really, that's the pushback. The media should have keep talking. Anthony, your team just got your ass fucking crushed 2 games in a row at home. They're the defending champs. Just focus on your team and finding a way to win by 1 point at the buzzer or better in game 5. Nothing else matters. The press is, honestly, as someone who is a member of the media, we shouldn't be involved in this.
Right.
You don't need to include us.
Right.
You have enough to worry about on your plate with that team.
Mm-hmm.
You got Murray as Mr. Clutch again as a shooter. You've got the brilliance of Jokic. You've got the beasting of Aaron Gordon.
Incredible.
God, he's impressive. You
Guys,
got enough to worry about.
Aaron Gordon was a number 1 option before in Orlando. Now he's the number 3/4 option on this team, right? Like that, probably the best 4 option in the NBA, right? Like that's pretty good.
And a defender,
and
a defender, a motor hustle guy, 6'10" and physical and athletic.
Very physical.
And they got a bench.
And smart.
His last name is Holiday.
Well,
like what? What is going on? But yeah, he was big. Christian Brown was big.
I think
they got their hands full.
You hit the nail on the head. We said it. I've been saying it all year about Denver. We said it in the first. I was like, David, they just feel like they're in cruise control and not really ratcheting it into. And I'm not saying this was all by design. They were going to just, and then no. That's just how they were. They just didn't get to a level they were at last year when they were clinically dissecting teams. That blowout when Minnesota beat the piss out of them in game 2 in Denver, I think that was a wake-up call for them. I don't think game 1 was even a wake-up call. I think they were like, all right, we'll be better in game 2. When they got embarrassed and the home crowd was booing them in game 2, I think that was like, wait, we gotta raise our level here. And they have done that the last 2 games for sure.
Being embarrassed helps. They got embarrassed, as you said, and they allowed themselves to get frenetic. And that's, when you are in a tense moment, as a dad or as a coach, I always get upset. I don't like when coaches go crazy,
right?
When their team is struggling.
Got to be calm, man.
And I'm telling you, I'm quoting NBA players who don't like it. I've never, ever one time have had a player tell me he liked it when his coach lost his mind when they were already reeling. I'm not saying it never happened. I've just never been told of it. But I'm constantly being told of coach is fucking panicking. And we need an absolute air of we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And I've been accused of being delusional at times from agents, including some this year, one in particular this year, when he thought the sky was falling on his client's season. And I said, oh, we're going to be fine. I see some things here. And the guy's response was, are you delusional? It's funny now. Turned out I wasn't delusional. But part of that is, I don't know that I'll figure it out, but I know going crazy is not going to be the answer.
Certainly not. Losing your mind does not help. Like, it's already a tense, stressful situation. Why are you adding more tension and stress by freaking the fuck out? You and I don't love often what the TNT guys say and do because they're there for entertainment, not for basketball. They're smart basketball people. They just choose not to be for that show, and that's just the whole shtick, whatever. But Shaq says something that I always find very useful, which is what he says is about panicking in these moments. He's like, when the general panics, the troops panic. He's like, you cannot, like, and think about it, right? In a real life situation, if the general is panicking and you're an infantryman, what are you going to do? Well, the guy who's in charge is worried and losing his mind. Well, I don't feel very confident about anything that's happening right now. Again, delusion's one thing, but calm. Let's get back to what we do. We ain't going to get it all back to right now in 3 seconds. Start on defense. First thing, let's win this possession. Then win the next possession, right? Here's what we're not doing well. Let's change this thing. Like, give them clear instructions of what to do. But this idea of, like, blowing your top and freaking out, we said it after game 1, or game 2, when Malone went crazy at Mark Davis. And we were like, that's not helping. And it sure didn't. They got blown out. Like, that doesn't help.
No, I just saw like 5 minutes to maybe 10 minutes over the last 3 or 4 days of Saving Private Ryan. It's a really excellent view, kind of like through a different perspective of what the horribleness of war.
Right.
And Tom Hanks is just settled. in that position, he had the commanding of that small group. When all the other guys are panicking, he's settled. That's, I think, really valuable. And so the Timberwolves are reeling right now. And I don't think it benefits them seeing Anthony do the things he's done. Now, to be fair, he's 22.
Yes.
My kids are idiots. They're not the dumbest idiots in the world, but they are not ready to be CEOs of companies. I promise you that. As much as I love them, they are amazing, and I'm with them now. They're here for one more week together, and then might be another year before we see them. Maybe this summer for a week. But they're just not. They're ready to be listeners. They're soldiers, great soldiers.
Not leaders yet.
I wouldn't trust them to be the leaders because they're Anthony Edwards' age.
Right.
And experience matters. What this is great for Minnesota long term.
For sure.
Anthony's going to be 25 and he'll be through some wars. Like Shea is going through some now, whether it goes well for them or not this year. It's going to help them, I think, going forward. It isn't always. I mean, Atlanta wasn't helped a couple of years ago, but I assume these teams are going to mostly stay together. But they've run into, you call Joker, the cheat code kind of guy. He just solves
ultimate
problems.
Problem solver. He's the best. I mean, right?
Because he's an
LeBron.
amazing finisher.
They just know how to do everything.
Right. He's an amazing finisher, and he's an amazing passer, and he has an amazing feel for the game. He got a dunk in transition yesterday.
Sure did.
He just saw the moment. He raced rim to rim, got the easiest dunk he can get. He just finds different ways, and talk about a settled guy.
Yes.
Because he isn't just hooping. He's teaching. He's guiding. He's coaching. He's doing all of that. Anthony Edwards will one day. Jordan did. You don't got to be tall and slow and white or black to be a leader. You can be uber athletic and still also do that. And I think that Anthony Edwards will. I
think
love
so
this
too.
game. He's just gotta go through this and they can win game 5.
But this is what you often talk about, right, David? How do you deal with success? Woo! We got 2-0 up on the chance. We blew them out in game 2. They've been reading their press clippings for 3 days. How great we are. What? Not so much now, right? Now you're in a dogfight, right? Now it's best of 3, right? With 2, it's you got to really go to Denver now, and that game 5 is so pivotal, right? I forget the stats. The winner of game 5 in a tied 2-2 series wins like 90% of that, something crazy. Like it's such a pivotal game at 5 when it's 2-2.
Yeah. We are a species in the animal kingdom, and as someone who does like watching some of those documentaries that take place all over the world in animal area places with a lot of animals, the young males tend to beat their chest and preen around. It could be birds, it could be any animal.
That's what they do.
And the older ones, it's like bears will smack their kids like, wake the fuck up, put your head in a swivel, man. There's some bad people around, We're animals. I know this. I know what I was like at 22. I remember coaching high school kids, and we would be on a win streak, and they would run out of the locker room like, man, nobody can touch us. And then I started coaching NBA guys, and she'll be like, within a couple of years, I went from high school guys to NBA guys, and some of them would be 26, 27 years old. None of that existed.
Right.
Like, we know it's going to be really hard. I'm saving all my energy when the game actually matters. Yeah. Yeah, it's smart. Yeah. Jokic, who knows what Jokic would have been. Actually, one of the things I think it helps Jokic is he probably never could do that because of his body.
Right.
So he's almost only learned how to play this way. And I think it's very valuable. Brunson carries himself with always got a fire burning.
Always.
Under control all the time. Yeah, I love that guy.
Listen, this is the reality, right? And as you always said, winning this league is hard. All right, David, let's give some kudos. We, a concern we had for Denver all year was that bench. We're like, mainly because Malone didn't really play certain people. Justin Holiday, hello.
Right. He was as concerned as we were, apparently.
And lo and behold, the bench played well in game 4. Actually, I have a quick question for you. Broadcasters who I know you have an issue with, but one of the common parlance things that these media people say is role players often play better at home than on the road.
I'm so glad you said that.
And I was curious that when you hear that, I'm sure you rip your hair out when you hear stuff like that.
It's funny. I didn't tell you about this. I don't. I value my hair. I don't have as much as I used to. And I'm not ripping any hair out anytime soon. But I don't know what they're talking about. I really don't know what they're talking about. I don't even know where to begin with how nonsensical that is. Now, if they want to show me data, I'd be happy to see that data. But it's all based on this narrative of it's. In fact, I'm writing an article this week about this. There's only the superstars, so the rest of the guys, yeah, they'll fine at home, but they wilt on the road because they're not superstars.
Right.
Yeah. Is Justin Holiday a role player?
Yeah, I would consider him a role player.
How do you do in Minnesota?
Pretty good. After really getting no playing time, really.
Yeah. How was DiVincenzo in Game 3?
Pretty good.
Yeah, come on. It's just stupid. It is. I would tell you that I think a lot of times the role players are the role players because that's the role they're given to play. Ask them to do more, and they might be able to do it. How would we know?
Right.
We don't give them that chance.
Right.
Naz Reid, if not given the chance to be Sixth Man of the Year, could have been a quality third or fourth, string dude somewhere because he wasn't drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's Sixth Man of the Year, and next year this time he'll be starting somewhere probably.
Mm-hmm.
He was given a chance to do more, and look what he did. We know this story so many times over, right? But yeah, the Andrew Nembhard had this amazing 3 to win Game 3. We'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm.
He did it against LeBron,
right,
as a role player rookie,
right,
playing out of position.
Right.
Did that not matter, or was it only matter in the postseason? It's just stupid. And the ones who say it normally are the stars, typically.
Yeah, right.
I've never asked JJ's on TV now. I'm gonna ask JJ. Hey, did you suck on the road, man? Because he was definitely a role player.
He was a role player. Yeah, it's a Shaq and Chuck thing, right? That's what they say, right? The superstars.
Oh, is that right?
Right,
yeah. I know very little of what they have to say.
Oh man, so no, we have a series now, right? And so we'll be curious to see how Minnesota responds now in Game 5. This is their first piece of adversity, right? Swept Phoenix, blitzed the champs 6 games in a row. Like, whoa, look at us. Well, now you lost 2. Take it on the chin.
Tagged.
How we feeling now? We feeling okay, or are we like, oh shit, what's going on, right? And this is all growing pains, right? Let's just say the champs win the next 2, right? So they win 4 straight and they move on in 6. This will be a pivotal teaching and learning moment for Minnesota, realizing that, hey man, it ain't over because you won 2 games, right? It's the first to 4, and you have to realize people have levels, and the champs were able to level up and get to it. Now you have to, in Game 5, can you level up? Is there no level you can get to? One thing I tweeted out, David, and this is, I thought important, and it's something you had said all year. Look, and the Wolves were doing well when I tweeted this out. I was like, just for reference, guys, the Wolves were 17th in offense all season long. I think that bears repeating. Sure enough, and Cat missed shots, yes, but they just had a clunkiness to them, David. Ant was fine, but everything else and it made playing defense for Denver so much easier. They knew exactly where to rotate from, a lot of standing around. I was like, you're not helping yourself here. You're making this worse.
Ant wasn't just fine. Ant was amazing.
Yes.
And they still lost.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not only a reference point for the players, it's a reference point for the coaches. What went wrong? How do we fix it next year? And also management.
Mm-hmm.
Is there adjustment we can make? Is there, whether it's different starters? Do I need a better point guard?
Mm-hmm.
Do we need another better guard off the bench?
Mm-hmm.
And not just have Naz be our top guy? Whatever.
Right.
This is what you have to do to tinker. Just tinker with what you've got. You had the defending champs on the ropes. If you can't end up pulling it off, you still have something to look forward to next year.
No doubt.
They're 2-2. They're back on serve in a sense. There's no narrative. For anyone listening to this, if you value what you hear at True Hoop, almost all these narratives you hear are just silly and false. There's maybe Denver takes care of Game 5, maybe not. If you know better than I do, then you're smarter than me. Right. Probably you're not, as it relates to basketball, because I don't know. I think I favor Denver.
Right.
This is one of the series where injuries really aren't much of the story.
Well, I thought Murray wasn't, but he looked fine in Game 4.
He was amazing.
I was like, oh, that's not a problem now.
I thought they were done because he couldn't move, and for whatever they've done, he's very fluid and obviously made every shot. But I think he missed one shot.
Well, Aaron Gordon missed one shot. Murray.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Murray was excellent, like especially in the second half in that third quarter. Yep.
Yeah. We've seen a couple inbounds turnovers, by the way. Minnesota's wasn't the only one. I think TJ McConnell has at least 2 and maybe 3 steals off inbounds plays. And he's the shortest guy in the court and has at least 2 of maybe 3. Got one yesterday. He got a deflection that turned into a steal yesterday. And I think I won in game 1.
Possessions, folks, they matter.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. It's just take the extra second. Don't let the game speed you up. Don't let the pressure or the tightness speed you up. I've had players talk to me about the tightness of their teammates in clutch. You've got to just breathe and play. And that's where Denver has kind of found their step, their stride.
And they have experience. They've done it before. So they know. This unit knows. And it's that, you always talk about that extra half a heartbeat, right? So you're not like, okay, just give it an extra half a heartbeat. All right, now we make the pass. I mean, Jokic is the best
exactly
at that.
Right.
He just, always on key. The best.
The best.
All right, so we'll see what happens there. Again, exciting series. It's going to go at least 6, obviously, because you got to win 2 more games. Might go 7. This is a really, really awesome series. I'm glad that the chance punched back, and now we'll see what goes from there. David, I think Tom Thibodeau broke the Knicks. His mindset about being tougher than everybody and being more physical and all that, it has value for sure. That is why they are where they are. They won as many games as they did, why they're the 2 seed, all the reasons. But at some point, David, it will start having negative impact, especially if you don't play anybody else besides 6.5 dudes. And if one of those dudes gets hurt, well, now you only play 5.5 dudes. And the minute total to me in this series against Indiana is starting to catch up to New York. Brunson and all those guys are playing 40 plus every night. I mean, Josh Hart, last game 4, the blowout when they lost. That series is now 2-2, by the way. That was all the rest he's gotten in this series was that blowout rest. Play 24 minutes.
No, he missed 4 minutes in game 3.
Oh, did he miss 4 in game 3? Okay.
4. Not 14, not 40.
Right.
4. I think he played 44.
Okay,
yeah.
So 44 and 48 the other 2. I mean, that's just an insane workload in the playoffs. And I just don't know how you can physically keep that up. And look, the Knicks are breaking. We can see it. If you watch Jalen Brunson in that game on Sunday, all the shots were hitting front rim. That means you got tired legs, right? And no lift, missing layups. I'm like, well, you can't explode off those legs. The extra second and third efforts they make on defense could not do it. And I think Henry joked at our chat on the broadcast. They said, coming out of halftime, Thibodeau said, yeah, guys are a step slow everywhere. Gee, Tom, I wonder why they're a step slow everywhere. Like, they're exhausted. And Indiana took advantage. And from the beginning, got out in pace, picked up 94 feet, really, really got into them. And because they play a bench, always, it helped. The bench is awesome. The starters were awesome. They just blew them out.
I mean, Indiana's game plan was to wear them down. They've been picking up full court the whole series, just like they did in Milwaukee, starting like in game 2 or 3, maybe second half of game 2. I don't remember now. So it seems like a long time ago. And OG blew a gasket, racing full speed.
That matters.
Probably related to this kind of thing. And guys fall down. It's a really interesting series in the sense that you got the most physical team and the fastest team who play the fastest anyway. And they're smashing into what's I thought game 3 was the most exhausting game of all the games I've seen in the playoffs. I've pretty much seen on and off all of them. It was the guys were exhausted. That combination of the physical and then the speed. And so New York left it on the floor to win game 3, and Nembhard fucking spit in their eye. And for anyone who's listening to the narrative of the national news, is it like it was a heave? I mean, he got a little lucky. He did lose the ball when he went to shoot it, but he shot the ball.
Yeah, right.
Like,
he didn't chuck it.
And he said after the game, I watched the press conference the next day, that he was asked about practicing. He said he doesn't practice it. That's just a lie. Everyone practices those shots. I promise you 100% certain he's taken a lot of 4-point shots in his career, including off step backs. It's just something. I worked out 2 college kids that day, and we did it. It's just what you do. You work on special situations. If you're a team coach, down 1 with the ball, 12 seconds, 5 seconds, all that. You work on this shit all the time. You do the same thing individually, especially as a guard who's got the ball in his hands at the time. And so that really, first of all, I thought if the Patriots had won game 2, they'd have won the series. I thought if the Knicks had won game 3, they'd have won the series. And so here we are. Indiana is sharing the ball really beautifully.
They are.
They've got I think 4 playmakers now with 4+ assist to turnover ratio. Siakam's at 5-1, 35 assists to 7 turnovers.
Siakam, Halliburton,
Nembhard's maybe just and TJ McConnell.
Yep, I figured.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that, and the Knicks are just the opposite. It's all Brunson. And I heard Doris Burke erroneously, I'm a fan of hers, but she erroneously said, now the shots are all hard for Brunson. It's been that way since game 1 against Philly, Doris.
He was just making them then.
He was just making them, and he's kind of worn down, and they're shrinking to him much more. They're helping late more often, not always, but more often. They're not just swiping, they're moving their feet and getting in his way some. Neesmith's length seems to have bothered him. He was killing Neesmith in the past, and he always getting him in foul trouble, which is why they started Nembhard on him to begin with. And so he seemed to score a bunch over Nembhard at very high level. So they just kind of flipped it up. They might have to do it again. He still guards them, as does Siakam, as does Miles Turner. They are switching some or cutting in transition. A big part of the game I thought was Nembhard shut down DiVincenzo. No backdoors, nothing easy, and he couldn't make a shot. The Pacers are right there every game with the Knicks on the offensive glass,
which is huge.
I just had Travis send me this. So here's the Knicks versus the Sixers in the 6 games. Okay, on the offensive glass. First game plus 14, Knicks plus 14, Knicks plus 2, Knicks plus 3, Knicks plus 6, Philly plus 6 in game 5, Knicks plus 4 in game 6. The Knicks won the offensive rebound by 23. In this series, I won't go through it all. The Indiana was plus 4 through game 3. Then the Knicks ended up being plus 7 yesterday. That's a throwaway game. It was a blowout. I even said to Trey, I don't care.
Right.
When you're getting blown out, what the final numbers are. The third string guys were in there for a quarter of the game or more. Yeah. So through 3 games, Indiana was winning the offensive rebound. That's a big deal. That's fatigue. That's athleticism and speed. And that's just catching up to New York a little bit. So I thought the guy that looked most hard for the Knicks was Hartenstein, who's been tremendous. And that's problematic for them. There's no one else.
Yeah.
Jericho Sims isn't the answer. I think he might get booed by his own fans on Tuesday night. I don't mean to make fun of anyone.
No, you're not.
It's hard for him. He hasn't played very much.
Right, this is the reality.
And all of a sudden, he's got to perform.
Right.
The Knicks have a lot of moxie. They're the toughest team. They're a high IQ team, whereas I don't think the Pacers are quite as high IQ right now. But at one point, I sent you guys over a 44-minute stretch from Game 4 through quarter 3 of from Game 3 to through quarter 3 of Game 4. The Pacers had outscored the Knicks in that 40-some-odd minutes by 52 points. In a series that was so close.
Yes. That tells you all you need to know.
Tyrese trending up, Jalen trending down. I would think they'll meet more in the middle. But Brunson needs to dominate at that position. Not that he's going against him. Tyrese is not going against him at all. So, yeah, I would not be surprised. I said this before the series started. I would not try to see the Pacers win. I still feel that way. Now I kind of favor him.
By the way, despite a blowout, DiVincenzo and Brunson, David, still played 30 and 31 minutes yesterday. So it's not like they played nothing, 15. They still played 30 and 31. That's not nothing, right? Like, Josh Hart was the only one who played under 30 and played 24. And
because he was bad.
Right. And here's the thing. The Pacers play 9 guys. Like, and to me, that math of we play 9, you only play 5.5 because OG is not going to be ready for game 5, most likely. I mean, who else are you going to play? Guys who literally you are dusting off the shelf who have not played competitive, meaningful, because the end of that blowout game, that wasn't meaningful.
Right, but Alec Burks looked good.
He did.
And has looked fine in this series. He probably should be playing more. Wow. And all year he should have played more. I'm glad you mentioned OG because I would be wrong to not mention it. It's the biggest story of the series, in my opinion. The Brunson, Tyrese injuries notwithstanding, the Knicks are just much, much better with OG. For whatever reason, there's a whole nother thing.
Defense, offense, everything.
They're just much better. They're much better with him. Their metrics show it. The wins and losses show it.
Correct.
The basic raw data shows it. And he's not there and probably won't be back. That's real problem. They're barely a playoff team. If they make a trade, RJ's gone, those guys gone, and they don't get this guy, they're probably not a playoff team. Like, he really means that much to them. Or if they are, it's an 8 or 9 seed.
He does.
He means a lot to them.
It's a player who, when they have him on defense, they never send help his way. He's always guarding his man straight up. He can switch onto just about anybody. His offensive game, he's shooting the 3 ball well. He can put the ball on the ground and get to the rim. He's a Tibbs got. I'm using air quotes for those of you watching, right? Extra efforts, hustling, rebounds, all that stuff. Like,
yeah,
the winning player.
He's won a lot of games for when he was in Toronto. I will say one of the things I'm disappointed with any announcer is when they go back and forth to different series. It's that nothing happened in the series before they arrived. So we're hearing Doris talk about how now that OG isn't there, Siakam could do his thing as if he didn't destroy OG in game 1.
Sure did.
He did. He has no problem. He's not great attacking from the perimeter. He should score inside against him. Yesterday was 7-9. OG wasn't there. He wouldn't have mattered. He's much longer and taller than OG. But he also has to be guarded. The OG being guarded when you're so worried about Brunson. That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's a big deal.
Huge.
So they're missing him as much offensively as anything.
For sure.
And if the Knicks lose the series, I absolutely believe it's because the guys were overplayed,
no doubt,
by their head coach. And they were amazing, but they ran out of gas.
Yeah.
Again.
And it's, listen, that's a real thing. Energy's finite, right? It isn't like, all right, we're going to go get some more. Like, when it's done, it's done.
To finish the thought on the Knicks, because I've done this to you guys in your private chat, Jarod. The fans are hilarious.
Oh, what do they say?
All fans are hilarious. The media, who are kind of fans, are hilarious because they act as if New York has never fouled legitimately. Mike Breen is included in this, by the way.
Right,
Mr. Breen,
yes.
I love you, but you should never call a Knicks game.
Knicks announcer.
And they should replace him if they make the finals because you're just pandering to your fans. It's very obvious to me.
Right.
You can't admit when a Knicks guy's fouled, I don't know, pretty close there. But if you sneeze on a guy, he should be kicked out of the game. And I'm barely being hyperbolic here.
No,
it is so obvious.
You're right.
It's just everything's a foul if they ever question anything. Oh, it's pretty close if it was a Knicks foul. Or I don't know how you can argue that. And even yesterday, Brunson shot the ball and jumped forwards.
Correct.
And Aaron Nesmith was in his landing zone, but Nesmith was already there. He just put his hands up. Brunson jumped. You're allowed to guard people.
Correct.
What I can't do is go into your landing space while you're still in the air.
Correct.
That is not how I saw that play. But they acted as if it's clearly. I'm sorry. It's like hearing a Lakers announcers argue they're getting rooked by the refs. It's just silly. Come on. And I'll take it a step further. It's not just the fans. It's not just the announcers. And it's not just the Knicks. One of the things that really is bothering me is I'm watching Karl Anthony Towns and Luka Doncic in 2 different games the last couple of days not get back because they're just looking at the refs.
Right, yelling about
it's an epidemic.
Yes.
And didn't who's the great female player? Caitlin
Clark?
Caitlin Clark?
Mm-hmm. From Iowa?
Caitlin Clark?
Yeah.
Because so I guess her dad must get mad at her for yelling at the referees.
Okay.
And apparently Rick Brunson did it with his son in game 3.
Okay.
Whatever. Yeah. That's what I'd be doing. Like, it's hard enough to beat those dudes.
Right.
Stop with the referees. It's not helping you. And some of the New York media people I've seen think Rick Carlisle deserves the credit because he got fined best $35,000 he ever spent. As a fan, that's just a stupid narrative.
Right,
you can do it if you want to and knock yourself out. But for true listeners who are paying attention, I promise you, Rick is not thinking, that was a good $35,000 I spent.
Exactly.
No. Knicks got their asses kicked because they're fucking exhausted and couldn't make a shot, couldn't move their feet. Hartenstein could barely stand up. Josh Hart was leaning over early in the game.
So what's surprise?
Fucking tired.
Yes, he's played 1 billion minutes in the playoffs. Yeah. Look.
It's nothing to do with the referees. Not to say they're good or bad. That's a separate issue. It's not the referee's fault in this case.
Here's the thing that bothers me about the referees, David, is the constant falling for the ref games. I'm like, I just stop getting tricked by this shit. Again, if you don't see, just because someone falls down doesn't mean they got fouled. Sometimes they just fall. Like, people fall. If you don't see a foul, why are you calling it? That drives me up a wall. And
did I tell you what my son said on that subject on last week? Did I tell you this?
No.
He said, he's still 22. He said, Dad, they're the most fit, athletic, agile athletes in the world, why are they falling down all the time? It was a rhetorical question. He knew what
Because
he was
because
asking.
the refs are going to call a foul.
Right. It's because they're trying to get a call. Yeah. Yeah. Same as soccer does the same thing,
Yeah,
right?
it just drives me up a wall. It's like,
I
come
don't like
on,
it
man. You
Yeah.
didn't see a foul. Don't guess. I guess
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. If they stop doing that, I bet you they stop throwing themselves on the ground. If there's no benefit
I
to
think
it,
so too.
like
Be better for their body, also.
correct. And the other thing I'll say about the refs, David, is young teams in the playoffs being able to handle games being officiated differently, right? Refereeing crews change from game to game. It ain't the same.
Yep.
And so you as a player have to be aware, calling things down. You ain't a young guy. This is year 8 or 9, whatever it is in the league. This is not new to you. Okay, stop. What are you whining about? They're not calling. They're calling it now. Change and adjust the way you are doing what you're doing. Game 1 already happened. Too bad. Like so it's both sides, right? Like as a player, you have to realize, all right, they're not calling it this way. I have to adjust myself because arguing ain't going to help you any as we see it. It just doesn't.
I'm with you.
All right, guys, we'll be back after a brief commercial break. All right, David, the Celtics lead the Cavaliers 2-1. Donovan Mitchell had another fantastic game. He was a little PO'd after this game, though. And someone asked him, why are you so mad after this loss versus other losses you had in this playoff round? It's like, well, because this one he felt was self-inflicted. We did some things that were just dumb that they need to clean up to get better. Maybe he's right. David and I both think the Celtics are just a better team, like top to bottom. So I don't know how much better the Cavaliers can be than the Celtics. He's been excellent. Maybe Darius Garland, maybe some other things, but I think not having Jarrett Allen matters. Evan Mobley didn't score as well in this game as he did in the Game 2 win. That matters. So I actually have a question about Evan Mobley, David. Does the absence of Porzingis and having to rely so heavily on Horford, can Mobley find a way to exploit that a bit?
The problem with that philosophy is only that Mobley's not ready for that yet, I don't think. I don't think he's the accomplished scorer he's one day going to be, which I do think he's going to be. I think he's going to be an excellent scorer and an MVP candidate. I'm a huge, huge believer in his talent.
Always high on him.
And he just isn't there yet. Big men develop later. Like this guy's 30 years old, he's gonna be crushing people still. Yeah, he's got. I'm not saying he won't do it this year or next year. He'll still be doing it. Like this guy's got a long ramp of talent and potential to really destroy people. And so for sure, it's what they need. I just I don't know what Donovan's referring to specifically, but I've had people on the team tell me during the season they're just not quite there. There's something. I know what they're telling me. I can't repeat it, but there's something missing. There's something going on. There's not a real belief. I think winning Game 2 is huge, but Boston's better. Boston's better. And they're missing Porzingis, but Tatum and Brown played well.
Yeah.
Their bench didn't have to do very much. They've got a lot of answers. Their defensive options are sublime, all things they can do. Their offensive talents are great. And they just need to be tagged to wake up. I had a player on a different team tell me the other day. I'll just say it. I had a player I was talking to from the Mavericks, and he was saying, "We're going to win Game 2." He said, "This team, we just kind of need to get reminded sometimes of how bad losing feels and all of that, and then we're going to be good." He wasn't wrong. He's done pretty well since. Yeah. Helps to have Luka and Kyrie.
Oh yes.
I think Boston. To me, the most intriguing thing about the series is only what is Cleveland going to do after the series is over.
With their roster and trading and all that.
Trade Darius, add him to the Trae Young, guards that are on the move.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that if they think they can keep Donovan, which I have no clue.
Yeah, who knows?
Any of that.
Who knows?
Yeah. The series though is just it's a JV versus varsity in my opinion. Maybe if they win Game 4, I'm wrong. But I just don't think they're close.
I'm with you. I thought Tatum played much better. At least he scored for sure better in this game.
He did.
Jaylen Brown's just been very consistent for them. And he just kind of has you talk about your disposition to dominate. He kind of has that when he comes out. I'm like, ooh, Jaylen Brown's really like, no. I'm here to show up this postseason. Derek White didn't shoot it well yesterday, but it didn't matter. Still his usual excellent defense. Drew had a great block on Mitchell coming down the lane. I was like, man, what an awesome defender Drew Holiday is. They just have a way when it's time to clamp screws and like really tighten you and put you in that vice grip. The Celtics can do that. So I'm with you. Look, it doesn't mean that they won't do something dumb and screw around like sometimes they do, right? They're capable of just like having moments of lapses and it cost themselves a game. Or Cleveland could do what Miami did in game 2 of that series, shoot 20 out of 40 from 3 and you'll lose, right? Like all those things are possible. But if the Celtics play their best, this series should be over. And, imagine a Celtics, well, not there yet, but Celtics-Pacers conference finals. Obviously, the Celtics will be massive favorites, but I think Indiana could, do some things.
With missing Porzingis, the Pacers lead the league in points in the paint.
That's true. That is true.
And Boston beat them by 50 early this season, and I think they split the series 2-2. Although I don't remember if Siakam played any of them. Yeah, well, we're a long way from that.
Long way.
Not from Boston's case so much as Indiana. I still have some doubts about their toughness and IQ in crunch time. If New York can keep games close,
yes,
I think they have an advantage in the series. 2 or 3 at home.
I think you're right.
And just probably a better executing team down the stretch. Tyrese is moving better.
Let's just get back to that series really quickly. Is Tyrese turning the corner, you think? Shooting better? He seems to be moving a little bit better.
He definitely has. He kind of willed himself into just attacking more. He made the other day, he missed 2 straight threes in a row. He was mad at himself. And then I think Brunson came and hit 3. And I said to myself, Tyrese is shooting this next thing. You got to get a feel for this as a coach. This guy ain't passing. And Tyrese isn't passing a lot in the series. Check it out.
Yeah.
He barely has most assists on the team. Yeah. He's looking to score. And he kept the ball on a high ball screen and made a beautiful, beautiful floater in the lane, like a 14-foot floater. He's just, he seems to be kind of found a thing. He had a dunk yesterday. He seems to have gotten more comfortable. He's not doing much defensively, other than he had a nice steal, but he's not doing much. But he's good. Whereas Brunson's kind of going the other direction. Yeah. I've said this all along. This Tyrese and with Siakam has been real consistent for them, real reliable. They just haven't done that together much because of the injury to Tyrese.
Right.
With that bench. It's pretty. Beating the Knicks would be and clearly to win the series, they have to win a road game. That'll do a lot for them.
I mean, people always say the NBA is a copycat league and all this sort of thing. If I'm a GM or an owner of a team and I'm watching the Pacers in this series and I'm watching the Knicks, how do you, in your right mind, not go to your GM and your head coach and say, "You see how the Pacers play 9 dudes? Why don't we do that?"
So here's what you're really saying. Why don't we play super fast, get tons of ball movement? I mean, Indiana puts on a clinic. They made a 3. There was a play yesterday where Siakam comes in transition, gets the ball in the second box, kicks it, I want to say to maybe Nembhard in the corner, who gets to Denise Smith, who gets to Tyrese at the top of the key. And now one of the best shooters in the world the last few years, although he struggled for a few months with the injury, Tyrese Halliburton's wide over the top of the key bucket.
Yep.
Like, let's play fast and let's play a lot of guys. Why wouldn't we do that? We should build. The Knicks don't do it because they can't, but they could. They just have to reform how they're built, and that'll be interesting too. And we could because we have to get to Dallas series still. If they lose in 6 games, it's easy to say bad luck hit us,
right?
But it's also easy to say for some of us, science hits you right between the eyes.
You play 5 guys. That's why you're done, because you play 5 people. Play many. Again, injuries are going to happen. We know it's happening in this series. Well, now you're by necessity. You have to play guys who have not played versus Indiana, who, if one of those guys has a spot start, I think they'd be okay because, we play tons of minutes anyway. We're fine. Like, I don't get it.
We limit pilots and truck drivers.
Correct.
Anyone on the road,
yes,
even cab drivers supposedly, are not supposed to work too much. There's a reason for it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep, I'm with you.
Last thing on Indiana, are you at all concerned about Siakam's free throw struggles? He's like 50. Yeah. Okay. I was like,
he made 3 or 4 down the stretch in game 3, including 2 straight late, which was big. Some guys get those things. He's 60%, I think, in the playoffs, like basically 70 for the year, but he's a 77% career shooter.
Yeah.
I've seen this sometimes. Well, I don't know this to be true, but Indiana, Rick Carlisle tends to be a tinkerer. I wouldn't be surprised if they tinkered with his free throw at some point during the season, and now he's got mixed messages in his head. You need to focus on the offseason. But it's a fair concern.
Yeah.
He didn't have any free throws yesterday.
No,
it didn't matter. Yeah, but he was 7 of 9. He led game 3 in free throws made and attempted, and so that's a positive anyway. They're going in the right direction.
Just a thought in a close game when he's got to knock him down. That's something to think about. All right, the other series, David, OKC Dallas. The Mavericks are up 2-1. OKC, like mini, facing adversity for the first time in the postseason.
Yep.
How are they going to respond? And let's start here first. The Mavericks had 10 more possessions and won by 4. It seems like they got every rebound when they needed to. And I'm like, guys, you're not rebounding well enough.
They're not a good rebounding team.
That's not good. And a lot. And Dallas was missing. Dallas didn't even shoot great. They were missing a ton. But man, Lively, Washington, Gafford, just come rebound. I'm like, that's just, you can't play defense for 3 straight 24-second clocks against Luka and Kyrie. One of them's going to get open and hit a shot, and they did.
It's a problem for them. Yeah, there's no question it's a problem for them, and it has to be addressed. It may not work out in the postseason. I think Dallas has a real chance to win the series.
Yeah.
Kyrie engaging is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to engage earlier. Luka's not played great.
He's hurt, clearly.
He's hurt, and he spends too much time talking to the referees.
That's his.
If it helped him play better, I wouldn't even care, but it doesn't. It doesn't help him play better.
David, it's
TJ Washington's.
It's from the beginning of the game, David. The first
never stops.
Foul call he doesn't get. I'm like, dude, we just tipped off 2 seconds ago. Why are you?
It never stops. Yeah.
It's so annoying.
Yeah. But PJ's done really well.
Yes.
I don't think Dallas has played their best.
No.
They're up 2-1. That to me, that's tonight. That's
worrisome if you're.
That's a big deal. How they do tonight. If they can really put it together and go up 3-1, OKC's in a world of trouble.
Yeah.
Because it means Dallas has kind of found another level.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that OKC will. They're not worried about J-Dub. They're really just worried about Shea. It's the other guys aren't stepping up the way they need to. And Shea's been good, but he needs to be amazing. He's not been amazing.
That's clearly Dallas's plan, right? It's shrink the floor to Shea, let him see a million bodies, and I dare you, Chet and Jay and Giddy, all you guys, you beat us. And
so here's what that looks like. Late in the game, maybe a minute, 20 seconds, I think down 2 or 3. Shea's got Lively one-on-one and takes a step back 3 with time on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
That's because all the bodies in front of him all the time. I thought that was a mistake.
Of course.
And he can't be stopped attacking. He needs to keep attacking and play from there. And we'll see tonight if they do it.
Yeah, I think also, you're seeing some regression to means the wrong word, but I think you know what I mean. As you said all along, OKC relies on a rookie in Chet Holmgren to play, right? And it's like, well, you're seeing that it's not so easy in the postseason, right? Like
all those guys are young.
Not that the regular season's easy, but it's just different, right? Like everything's ratcheted up a bit. And Gafford and Washington, David, when I saw him play in college, and I remember we were in the media room, and someone said, "Oh, what do you think about PJ Washington?" And I was like, "What year is he?" And I think he was he's still a junior in college. And I was like, "Exactly." I walked away, and my thought process was like, if he was really good, he'd have already left and been in the NBA. Of course, that was a wrong idea to have. PJ, like 99% of players in the NBA, it matters about what fit and what umbrella you're under. Yeah, he's on Charlotte, which is the fucking dumpster fire. Of course, he didn't look great over there. When you're next to one of the greatest players in the world, how amazing PJ Washington now looks, getting wide open threes right in his shooting pocket every time. I'm like, man, that's true. It matters.
Yeah, I thought they had the best trade deadline because they got him and Gafford.
Yeah,
Gafford's just been okay too, but I thought PJ would play better because he wasn't in Charlotte anymore. He didn't for a while. I looked like I was wrong, but it's coming. Yeah, it's coming. Derek Jones was terrible in the last game, 1 for 10 from the field, but he's been really good.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, Dallas hasn't played their best game. Neither has OKC. Maybe in game 1 they did, but tonight's it's really OKC's up against it. They're gonna win tonight. They know that.
A must win, you'd say, for OKC tonight, right? For sure.
Yeah. I think going down 3-1 to Luka and Kyrie.
I think you're right.
It's you're down at less than 10% chance to win the series.
My guess. Can we just talk briefly? You often, you'll say, David will say, folks, whenever he's talking about a player when he's super excited in our chat after a game, he'll say, "Joke, guy's a joke, meaning like it's just nothing you can do for him.
Yeah.
Kyrie's such a special player, David. Like,
he's amazing.
At his size, to be able to get off the finishes and shot, and it's just like, man, like, how are you D'ing this dude up? Like, what? First of all, the handles are sick, so I can't take the ball off him. 1. 2, he just needs a sliver, and that dribble allows him to get more than a sliver of space. He's an elite shooter. He can get by you. It's just like, man, like, I don't know. he was incredible late in that game and some of the shots, and he's engaged defensively.
He's engaged, period.
Yeah, he's a I mean, no surprise. He's a special player. Like, he really is.
He's engaged, period. Yeah. And if I'm Dallas, I'm believing we can do special things. Minnesota's proven, Denver's fallible, Boston's missing Porzingis. Like, they don't have to think about that much. Just be aware and believe that this could really be our year, just because we have those two guys, and we're playing collectively good defense since the trade deadline, basically. So, yeah, Kyrie's amazing. And it lifts your team too, because you got two guys that can do so much.
So you often talk about that, right? How you or the other guys, you walk into the pickup game 5-on-5, knowing we'll be fine because we got these two guys. Like, so you walk around with your chest out because you're like, well, I got these two motherfuckers on my team, so I'm pretty sure we're gonna be on the court the whole time.
Well, or just let's just call it the Josh Hart persona. Yeah, he's got Brunson, you can't miss, and he's out there. Yeah, I mean, I love Josh Hart, his effort, but if he's your best player, your team's never winning a game. But he acts like, and I love this about him. But to be fair, he's not going to be anyone's best player if they're going to be a good team.
Correct.
He's very valuable. Don't get me wrong.
Very valuable.
I'm a huge fan. He plays so hard. But he walks around like he's the guy, but the lefty's the guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When I'm watching Dallas play, David, I know that because I asked you in the chat, because you help your guys do this. How do you defend Luka? And you're like, well, it depends on how long you are, which is like, there's so many variables that go into it. And it's one of those things like with Jokic, I'm like, guys, don't double. Like, I know it's not as simple as don't double, but whenever I see the double coming, David, I'm like, he knows where to go. Like, they both know. Like, so either you have
but early in the series, it sped him up, and he didn't always make the right decision. He's since back to what he normally is.
And the passes they can both make from opposite wings, I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
And not with like, I mean, a pass that's like, a weak arm quarterback that gets picked off, but no, it's a bullet. I'm like,
yeah.
I just, these people amaze me with their skill. They really, really do. It's fantastic and fun to watch if you're a fan. Really quick, the NBA draft lottery happened. The Atlanta Hawks have the number 1 pick. And of course, David mentioned already, like, the young guards or guards being on the move. There's talk now that Trae Young could be someone that's on the trading block or DeJounte Murray, perhaps, depending on what they want to do there, because they have that number 1 pick. The San Antonio Spurs have 2 picks in the top 10, and they have a player, David, in Victor Wembanyama, who was unanimous Rookie of the Year and got DPOY votes and will be on an all-defensive team, and a player who is already a winning plus positive player. They just need to get someone competent to run the show, and this is a playoff team next year, possibly, right? So you think this is something likely that San Antonio potentially does this offseason?
I do. Who they target, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I do think that they can package their 2 number 1s, trade down, trade up, or add 1 pick but get a veteran or 2. I think they need to try to make the playoffs next year. For Wemby, long term, start getting important games now. And they've got their 2 in Devin Vassell. I'm not sure about Jeremy Sochan just yet. Victor's your 5. They've got some holes to fill. And point guard obviously being the most important one. One of the most important ones, yeah.
I think
I like Trey Jones, by the way. Probably a backup.
Harden's done, right? His contract ends at the end of this year, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I made the point to, I don't know if it was you guys or someone. I like the idea of James Harden there. He knows how to play with a big guy. He did with Embiid. He immediately, they're offensively off the charts. Wemby helps protect him defensively. So does Devin Vassell, by the way. If he was open to it, like, you're not going to championship next year,
right? But
you might make a pretty interesting run. I don't know what he would say, but I wouldn't be afraid to do a 2 or 3 year deal with him, and while you're grooming the other guys,
because really what we're saying, David, is someone like Harden just raises the offense's collective IQ up exponentially.
That team with James Harden wins 45 games next year. Yeah, that team with James Harden wins 45 games next year. And if Victor, maybe more.
And if Victor like somehow learns to shoot, it's like, well, now you're talking about it could be even more games. Wow, incredible. Yeah. San Antonio, I think you should.
I doubt it happens, but I think Harden will listen to Pop too,
for sure. So if it's not Harden, San Antonio, we are believers that you should. You have a player now who I think is ready to, and I don't know if you saw this in his Rookie of the Year acceptance. He did a thing in local San Antonio with the kids. Every time I hear an interview with him, David, or I watch or I read, he's like, yeah, these things are nice, but I want to win. It keeps coming back to the win, win, win. I'm like,
he gets it.
This is a special young man. Like, how lucky are they in San Antonio?
Oh, they knew what they were doing, and they got him. Yeah. He's really, and from people who I've got a couple players on the Spurs that have played with him, just winner, great guy, great teammate. Like, not a single negative thing to say about him. Nothing.
That's special, man. That's special. I'm excited to see the future. All right, folks, enjoy the games tonight, and we will see you on Thursday. Take care.